Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Silent Man Podcast. I'm your host, Javier Talamantes. We first of all, we always start with giving thank you to everyone that's listening to the show. We really appreciate the fact that you allow us into your home, into your life, in order to be able to be of service and give you information in regards to, what we're going through as men, the silent, plight that we are living in, that we sometimes don't know who to talk to. We've got things going on in our life that possibly we feel, that hinders us from moving forward. Some cases, the fear basically overcomes us. We're not able to move. We feel like we're not, making strides forward. And so, the podcast was started to really help for everyone to start connecting, right? We believe in the concept of 1 + 1 = 3. And so we definitely want to invite everyone to kind of put down your guard, become part of the experience of what the Silent Man is all about. Myself, I'm making the commitment to you and to everyone that's listening to be vulnerable, to break down all the armor that surrounds us, and then also to break down all the walls around me, to, allow everyone to see the real me and see, how we all look, right? We all are going through the same things. Sometimes we're passing by each other on a daily basis, and we don't realize that there's other people out there, other men, that are going through the same things possibly at that moment that we're going through, and they're also looking for answers just the way we are. So once again, the Silent Man is a powerful statement in regards to the unheard voice, which in this case would represent the fact that we don't speak up, possibly stay quiet. If we feel something, we figure it's something that's in passing. It'll just pass over. It's not a big deal. It's something that possibly we have to go through because we have to pay a price. Something that we've done. But that's not true. None of that is true. At least in my point of view, it's not, because in reality, if we speak up, then it could help. Like I said, the 1 + 1, it could help the third person, or it could help the masses in understanding that they're not alone. And so your voice means a lot, and you've got to understand that if you don't speak up, you're not heard. And if you're not heard, you're just going to be part of, the scenery, right? Yeah. And like I said, when I go through my day, I'm very observant, and I'm always looking to see, who's got sometimes that look of anguish, possibly who's that person that maybe needs that uplifting, hey, how are you doing today? Or, just looking around and being observant. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. I mean, we've gone now into a society where we walk by each other and we don't know each other anymore. And sometimes in this case, it could be even about your neighbors or other people in your everyday life, even in the office, for those of you that work in the office. But it doesn't need to be like that, And so the more, let's say, outspoken, or the more we speak, it's the more we're actually going to be able to get the feedback, right? Because in some cases it could be, hey, how are you doing today? Well, what do you care for? Well, that's feedback, guys. That's feedback of the way that person is feeling at that moment. But then take it like if it's a mirror, right? And so if you were in that place, right, where you feel like you're hopeless, everything is happening to you, things are firing off around you. You've got family, you got work, you've got bills, you've got things just piling up. And all, like I said, those things are all firing up around you. And then so now you feel well, you need to isolate yourself, and in some cases even hide, right? Hide yourself from other things just coming together and compiling right on top of each other. And so the best thing we can do is, like I said, look in the mirror. Somebody talks to you in a certain tone. Put yourself in their shoes. Understand that maybe we've talked about this in other episodes, where maybe you just didn't ask for permission. Maybe you just came in, like they say, you just came in hot. The other person felt like you were just being intrusive. You're coming into their circle of their personal space, their circle of space around them, and they feel like you shouldn't be there. So just don't take it the wrong way. But now let's look at the positive side, right? So you talk to someone in the morning, and then next you're at the coffee shop, and you kind of just sense this, right? Because this is the new us, right? The new us is proactive, interactive, and then we're also wanting to also work on ourselves, right? Because the better skills that we have, the better skills we'll have also to be able to utilize in our toolbox. Remember, guys, I talk about it in every episode. We've got this amazing toolbox. You're getting these amazing gifts, with our show. And then you're also creating new tools. And you're also finding new tools or old tools that you've already had, you just weren't using. And so it's a great experience to be able to reach out to people. And, a lot of us in some cases could be introverts, where maybe we don't like to talk to people. We don't, we just don't know how to approach people. I've been in sales all my life. And so if it was, it's either do or die. If I don't put myself in a position where I'm proactive, talking to people, and, sales is all about the numbers are the numbers. So if you're not talking to 100 people, that means you're probably not going to get 10 sales. So, you become an expert in the sense of being able to talk. And that's why when I started this show, it was almost like therapeutic in the sense, because I also am looking for answers. I'm also, in the same place as all of you out there. And in some cases, like I said, it's a hit and miss with people. Some people are great at certain things, and some people, they get affected by the most minimalist thing. So, but at the end of the day, we're all going through things, right? And I'm the first one to say, look, I'm going through things every single day. The only thing is I encapsulate and isolate things as just one incident, right? For that moment. And whatever is happening in that incident, I'll go ahead and dissect it. And this is not, like I said, guys, this is not, a whole day thing that you're going to spend on one little moment of the day and trying to dissect it and trying to figure out how you could have done things different, and then how you could have avoided the situation. Because I'm telling you right now, there is no time machine. You can't go back and you can't change things that have already happened. So you've got to live with the things that are already happened and are happening. Because in some cases, you're working on something, right? You're isolating that moment, encapsulating it, and you want to go ahead and almost solve that puzzle, and then you're getting hit, from all different directions. And so just understand that you're only good, and that's just for pretty much everyone. Because I've heard a lot of people say, look, I'm good at everything and I can deal with I'm multitask and I can deal with tons of things that are coming at me at the same time. And I say, well, you probably are in some senses, right? So let's say multitasking at work, or multitasking maybe with the family. But when it comes to your personal life and your personal feelings, I'm telling you right now, if you get hit with something that's powerful and you're trying to go ahead and encapsulate it and isolate it and work on it, I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to tell you, there's no way possible you can work on this, give 100% to this, and then also be able to work on something else, because then you're going to dilute that 100%, and it's not going to look pretty, okay? It's going to look like half accomplished tasks. And so that's the lead into procrastination, right? And so procrastination, at least for me, right? Because like I'm telling you guys, I'm working on myself just the way you're working on yourself. And so I want you to understand that, procrastination, at least to me, the way it looks like in my life, I've got unfinished projects, I've got unfinished promises, I've got unfinished business, I've got unfinished, let's say, deadlines. So I've got all these different things going on at the same time, right? And I'm also trying to what? Trying to be a good father, be a good son, be a good brother, be a good husband, and so on and so forth. And in this case, it's to be a good grandparent also as well. And you really can't live a life of procrastination, because if you're living a life of procrastination, you're leaving a lot of loose ends. And we all know what loose ends end up looking like, right? Half done tasks in your life end up looking like, that guy that's got 15 cars outside his house, but he's working on all of them at some point or other. And then, and I'm talking directly from experience from a neighbor I had. Guy had 15 cars outside his home, and every time I'd ask him, right, over a 10-year span, it was like, hey, how's the projects going? And he'd always say, man, I'm working on them. And I'm like, well, when are you going to get one done? He says, well, you don't understand. It's just the concept. I got to work on everything at the same time, and everything's just going to finish at the same time. I said, okay. And I understood right off the bat that, if you do that in your life, and if I do that in my life, then nothing gets done. So, just recently I adapted to a different way of doing things, right? Because we're talking about also the procrastination part of it, number one, and also the adversity, right? Because we all know what adversity is. Adversity is when something happens out of the blue, and next we're affected, and we're trying to figure out what we can do to get back on track, right? And so adversity is simple, because all you got to do is just do something different over and over and over again. And in some cases, that could look like, let's say I'll take myself as an example, in procrastination. Hey, honey, I'm going to, we're going to go ahead and go out once a week to dinner. And so that doesn't work out, right? Because next, I'm breaking my promises. So instead, coming to terms with, look, I've got a lot going on. I've got a lot on my plate. Once again, guys, this is for all the men that need to understand that if we do not communicate, if we're not being communicative, especially with our spouse and other loved ones that we have in our life, then they don't understand what's going on. All they understand is, you said this, you said that, you were going to do this, you were going to do that. And then when they're holding you accountable is when you get explosive, right? And I once again, guys, I'm talking about myself, all right? So don't take this personal. I'm using myself as an example. Hey, well, what are you talking about? I said I would do that, but you got to be careful. Like, just relax. Like, give me some time. You don't understand what I'm going through. And it's almost like you're in a point you're combative, and in another point you're explaining yourself. But in explaining yourself, you're justified, and in justifying, you're what? You're being right. And that's a big problem that we have, right? Being right. And what is the cost of being right, right? Because I know for the fact that for me, doing all that, and I do that, I'm guilty of it. So doing all that and getting to the point where I'm right, I'm right. See, they backed off. They left me alone. And then it's like, okay, well, hey guys, everything's fine. I got it. Everybody come back. No problem. Let me know what I'm not doing, what I'm doing. And it's like, it's too late at least for that day, right? Because everybody's like, hey, stay away from that guy. He's a grump. He's having a bad day. because they don't know the notion of bad moments, right? Uh, and then it's like, and then on top of that, it's like what, like why would I want to talk to him, right? After a while, that's what's going to end up happening, right? Because think of it like if you're walking by something every single day and you just let's say you're not hitting it, but you're just basically moving it out of your way. Ultimately, it's going to happen where that's not going to be there anymore, and it's going to disappear. And it's a crazy analogy, right? Because you could utilize it in the sense of like I'm batting that away every single day, batting that away, and it could be a branch right over a walkway, and it's like, and then so one day I decide, you know what? I'm tired of just batting it away. I'm just going to break it. And when you break it, you basically it's almost like you've got to look at it in your life like that's a symbol of relationships, right? And so if you don't change, you'll be left alone. Like seriously, like you're going to be left alone. Exactly what you said you wanted, right? Leave me alone. And like I said, I'm telling you from my point of view, I've done that. I've done that to my wife. And I've told her, look, just leave me alone. You don't understand what I'm going through. I told you I'd take care of things. And it's like, and then sometimes it's financial. Sometimes it's, promises. Sometimes it's other things that I've already went ahead and committed to. And, I talked about this in in one of the other episodes where I said, I'm 51 now. And so it's like, I don't feel 51, but at the same time, I allow myself to be lazy, right? Because I'm like, hey man, I've worked all day. I'm doing work every single day. I'm like, I got up early, I did this, I did that. So then I'm justifying, right, guys? What we talked about, justifying. And I'm justifying why I'm acting that way. I'm justifying why I'm not going to go out. I'm justifying why I shouldn't go out, right? But then I look at it, right? And I'm like, I just read something that just, it was so powerful that it just told the story of what my life can be if I don't change. And it was a simple fact that I was listening to, a YouTube video, and in the YouTube video, they said that there was this isolated moment where the guy said, most men live to, let's say, your lifespan is going to be 75 years old. And then he broke it down into basically months, right? Not years. He broke it down into months. And then if you were further to break it down into days, then it's almost like a countdown. And then if you look at it like a countdown, then it's a finite moment, which means it's going to end, and you cannot create more of it, right? And this goes along with the fact of a story about a friend of mine that was basically he was very wealthy, extremely wealthy, got divorced. He got together with a new wife, and then he found out he had cancer. And so when he finds out he has cancer, he's fighting it, But unfortunately, they found it where it was already I think at stage 3 when they found it, and so then he had the means to basically go to the best doctors, best hospitals, to find alternative medicine, everything. And so I kept in touch with him, and I said, "Hey, man, that's a very really scary thing. I went through it with my father, and it's just it's not a it's I wouldn't want to be in those shoes." I said, "But I'll support you any way I can." So he confided in me, about the kids wanting to, fight the stepmom for his assets, right? His money. And we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I said, look, man, the best thing you can do is, prepare your will, right? Because that's one of the things that we're going to be discussing is preparation of a man in order to not allow your family to have to pick up all your, all your things that you've left undone, right? Because of the procrastination, which means, being buried, being, having a financial backing for your family on after you're gone. And so we will be talking about that pretty much all the way through any and all episodes, because I find it almost, it's almost like it's the ultimate storyline for all men, right? And like I said, guys, don't take this like an offense, or don't be offended by this, because if we're not talking about this, how is it possible we can help each other to achieve that, and how to go ahead and get there? So I'm talking to my friend, and I'm like, hey, look, did you look into like a trust or something that you can, prepare, and then, what your wishes are, and like everything, right? So we had to talk about the ultimate taboo, right? Because guess what, guys? As men, we don't like to talk about what? We don't like to talk about death, because we think we're going to live forever. And second of all, we live like we're guaranteed the next day. And unfortunately, that's just not the way life is. And so we had to have that talk. And at first, he was very hesitant. He kind of pushed back, and he says, "No, I'm not there yet. When I get there, I'll let you know." And I said, "No, you're already there. You've already been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. You already know in your mind that you have a certain thing that you need to do. You need to prepare. You need to go ahead and set yourself up where you're not going to be a burden to your family after you're gone." And we had a very, very, just a very intimate moment in regards to, he was able to basically talk about his feelings with me. He told me that he was scared. He was scared to die. That he still had a lot of things undone. That he still, basically he hadn't lived the life that he wanted to. And, and that's something for all of us to look at, right? It's like, if you were to take, let's say if you were to take inventory of your life as of today, could you honestly tell yourself that you've been living the most amazing, most, best version of yourself life? Or could you honestly say there's a lot of work that you could be putting in, and a lot of effort, right? And so so we got into the that moment where he was able to be vulnerable. I was vulnerable with him also, because I felt his pain, and then I went to my own pain that I went through with my father, and and then the things that we could have done when my father was sick, and when we found out, and things that we could have actually had conversations about, because ultimately, we don't want to live a life of regrets. And I think as us men, if we were to be asked the one question, like, what would we regret, if we were to die tomorrow? Most likely, I mean, for a lot of us, it would be like, I didn't set up my family to be able to take this type of hit, or if you want to look at it that way, or I didn't set my family up to, be able to go on without me. I didn't give them, I didn't let them know my wishes. If I was to pass, like, what exactly is it that I would want to, a list of, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And by all means, like I said, it's got to be something that you're setting up, in life, not in death. Because once you're done, once that clock stops running, and it basically, your day is numbered, and you're basically being called back to wherever we come from. It's like, there's no time. There is no time. There's no time left to, basically say, oh, well, hold on, time out. Let me figure this out. You didn't give me enough time. I just found out right now So I need some time. Like there is no time. Okay.